should marketing carry a revenue number? Like, sales sometimes task, okay, your target for the year is $1 million. And then should marketing have an equivalent marketing you should generate $500,000? What's your take on that?
Oh, tough one. I personally, if I'm leading the team, I would like to have that number,
Mm-hmm.
just because then I know whether or not one, my efforts are working or my team's efforts are working, and also whether or not they're actually getting any sort of ROI. I don't want to just spend money
Mm-hmm.
and not actually get more in return. I think that helps me formulate the strategy better, and holds some level of accountability to the things that I'm doing. But again, it's difficult to measure the rest of my team by that, because again, they're so far removed from that part of the process. By the time it gets down to the negotiations, they don't have control over what kind of terms are set in the contract, in our case as well, because it's everything is so flexible, and we customize even down to like the payment terms to our clients. It's not
Mm-hmm.
as strict as that. So yeah, for the rest of my team, I think it would be really detrimental to their morale and motivation if I assign a revenue target to them. Like how would you assign a revenue target to a content marketer? It's really, really hard. And in our case, it's even with all the tools that we have to track um the success of our content. It's attribution is always a problem in marketing. You can never always 100% attribute every single sale
Yeah.
to a particular point in marketing. So in that case, it's not the best. But for me, just as an overall gauge, to just be able to see like these are the deals that the marketing team has brought in. It helps. And again, it forces the team to not just bring in any prospect just for the sake of fulfilling that MQL number as
Yeah.
well. So it's all
Yeah.
matter of accountability at the end
Yeah.
of the day.
Yeah. For me, sales is the department accountable for the revenue number, but I believe sales can't do it alone, right? You can
Mm-hmm.
sales can, say what they need to say to get a deal to the finish line, but they actually need all other departments to successfully service that client, be it from operations,
Mm-hmm.
marketing, finance. Like each, sales is the one driving the opportunity, but to successfully service a client, retain that client, and upsell to that client, you actually need everyone's help. Like from marketing,
Mm-hmm.
probably that's creation of case studies,
Mm-hmm.
customer satisfaction scores, NPS scores, with operations making sure the delivery
Mm-hmm.
is on time, it's within SLA, finance, proper billing. Like each one of those can cause friction to the client. And
Mm-hmm.
while sales is the one driving the revenue, sales can't do it alone, and it really needs
Mm-hmm.
support and alignment from all other departments in the company.
Yeah, it's good that you brought up with your team, they need to work with so many different departments and make sure that everybody does their role, to make sure that the client's happy. Do you find it that you or maybe other people in your team can sometimes fall into the role of a project manager then and just keep chasing everybody to do their part? Does that ever happen?
When you're in a technology startup, especially ones that's growing fast, it's normal to wear multiple hats, right? You can
Mm-hmm.
be just a sales now, but you got to wear the account manager hat, sometimes a project manager hat, and it happens. So the role of the sales leader is to detect when that happens too often, so that you
Yeah.
can have that internal meeting and alignment to iron out that issue. There's a study out there that says, salespeople are actually only spending 35% of their time actually selling, and the rest are, admin stuff and others. So that's a
Yeah,
low number, right? So if you can help your
exactly.
people actually just go from 35% to 60% of the time to actually sell, then that helps you move your revenue needle. And those
Mm-hmm.
are the things that you have to watch out for, so that your team is really focused on executing.
Yeah, and I've seen that happen before as well, where you see someone from sales just because they really want to close the deal, especially when there's a POC or a trial involved, and that
Hmm.
the results that come out of that has such a heavy impact on whether or not that deal ends up being closed, that they end up just getting way too involved
Hmm.
in the process of that project being how that trial or that POC is being executed. That exactly like you said, they just spend a huge amount of their time on that part rather than focusing on everybody else that they have in their funnel as well, especially if that deal in particular is a substantially larger one. How do you think you can remind sales teams to or BD people to be conscious of that and just step back when they need to?
Okay. For me, I would go back to your weekly one-on-ones with each direct report and really going back to the accountability part of sales, right? If the agreement is that each week, for example, you're gonna do 10 client demos, and for some reason you're only doing 5 out of the 10 agreed number, why is that? And that's when you can start digging
Mhm.
in. Did you not spend enough time doing prospecting? Were you distracted by something else? And then that's where you will identify these issues. And then once you see it's a recurring pattern, then you can do something about it.
Mhm. Mhm. Is it if your team has a setup of, you have marketing in charge of the leads and you have SDRs as well doing a lot of outbound, do
Hmm.
you still make it a point to have your AEs or your BDs do prospecting of their own?
Yes, at our team, yes, I expect our AEs to generate 25% of their pipeline. So what I don't want to happen is that, they'll just tell me at the end of the week, instead of doing 10 demos, I only did 5, going back to the example, just because I didn't get enough leads from marketing. And I just don't want to accept that
Yeah.
excuse.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one because again, it's a tricky balance. I always find, and from the marketing end of things, you definitely don't want to feel like this your sales counterpart has to make up for the lack of prospects that you bring in. But at the same time, if their weak pipeline is just they just push like the blame slowly on you, it's not the nicest feeling either. So it's just a matter of, like you said, it's just that communication needs to be there. So for example, if I know that the leads are coming in aren't as strong as maybe say the previous month, that alarm bell needs to ring ASAP so that the BDs or the AEs know that they'll need to dedicate some form of their time to grow or beef out their pipeline on their own as well.
Yeah, it goes back to the two departments actually talking to each other, yeah, being honest, giving feedback, and
Yeah.
then coming up with a solution to solve the problem.